two of them. So I'm going to play this one first. There's actually two of them. And then I did a video. I made it for my Patreons, and I just released it. So if you're Patreon, you may have seen that. But I wanted to kind of do some research on the river, and in the scenario, if he went in the river, how far could he have actually made it? And there was a article that actually talked about the depth of the river at the time he went missing and how fast it was approximately going. And so then I kind of crunched in the numbers and then just kind of did kind of a rough estimate of how far he could have traveled within a 24-hour period. And it's pretty wild. So first I'll play this new information that we got going on. I'm sorry that I know I have the title. I may have to change that here while I play this video. But there's supposedly new surveillance footage that actually shows Riley after he walks past the officer. And it's actually from a camera that's actually sitting. Give me 1 second, guys. And turn this down. And so, we have the officer footage from right here, guys. Riley passes the officer, and the officer kind of walks the other way, and then when he turns around, Riley's just gone. And at the time, that was kind of like the last known footage. But apparently, they have found footage from this building, one of these buildings up here. Oops. I'm not sure which one it is. I don't know if it's this building here. Let me make sure you guys can see it. It's one of these buildings. And it looks down. I think it's probably, I'm not sure. One of these buildings, though. And it's CCTV. And they can see Riley. And they say that they can see him all the way up to, what did they say? This yellow sign, or is it this? Oh, let me go back. I almost want to say this yellow sign. Anyway, there's two interviews. There's one that somebody did, I think, with Chris. He's been doing a lot of interviews, which is this guy here. And then we have the father here. I'll play this, and then we'll check into Mind of Monsters just to make sure that it's not Riley, and then I'll play the other video. But this is really interesting.
Chris Whited and family friend Chris Dingman, thank you
a lot of Chris's.
So much for joining us. Chris, I'm so sorry to meet you under these circumstances. My heart breaks for your family. I just first want to know how you guys are doing and holding up right now.
We're doing as good as we can, under the circumstances. The community has been amazing for, supporting us, especially since we're 6.5 hours away from our home.
Are you still holding out hope you're going to find Riley alive?
We are. We're still hopeful. We can't give up hope until we have any other reason not to be.
All right, we're hearing that police showed you some new surveillance video today. What does it show Riley doing?
The video was shown to us Sunday after they found the debit card. After the debit card was found, we met with the police and they showed us the video. It was the last known video of Riley, basically from where the body camera footage was with the officer to just right before the James Robertson Bridge. We got to see him walking, got to see him kind of at a fast-paced walk, almost a jog, and it shortened the last known window anyways.
We're looking right now at body cam video from a Nashville police officer who also had a brief encounter with Riley. If we can rewind that video, guys, in the control room and show the beginning of it again, you can see Riley walking. he looks just fine in that part of the video. Is that how he looked in that surveillance video too, where he's walking pretty normally?
So
It
dumb.
appeared so. It was from a distance, but again, he did seem to be walking either at an extremely fast pace or jogging, and we all
So that makes sense because, you know, the officer, you know, they pass each other, and the officer doesn't go too far before he turns around. And you would think you would kind of see, you know, I've talked about this in my previous live shows. You'd think you would kind of see him kind of, you know, there in the distance, kind of under the bridge, kind of, you know, a few kind of seconds where you can kind of see him just kind of walking off out of view. But, you know, the officer turns around and he's just gone.
know how hard it is to balance, let alone walking if you're, you know, been drinking, let alone try to jog.
Chris
Yeah.
Dingman, we're also hearing more about this couple who saw Riley around the time of this police surveillance video and the surveillance video that the families had a chance to see. This couple, they're tourists from out of town. They said they called Nashville police. They did not hear back. They said they actually were
Oh,
concerned
stepdad.
about
Is it
Riley.
stepdad?
The woman asked him,
Oh,
hey,
it
are you
is.
okay? You're not going to drive, are you? Because he did
My
seem
apologies.
to be drunk
You're right.
at that point, right?
Yes. We were fortunate enough, the family did reach out via a friend, a retired FBI agent, got us in contact with them. And I tell you what, last night, the families got together. We went on a voice call or a FaceTime, whatever you call it. And
Yes.
the families got to spend some time together. The gentleman that was there was literally in tears with the family. He had a lot of guilt, which the family would. They have multiple children of their own. And as I explained to him, I said, don't second guess anything you did.
I wonder if it's these ladies, or it looks like two ladies to me. I could be wrong, but I wonder if it's this couple that, you know, just said, I hope you're not driving tonight. And he said no. And then they kept moving on.
You're the only one that we know that was compassionate enough to even ask Riley if he was okay or even talk to him. Not saying no one else did, but, you know, that meant a lot to the family. And I wanted to make sure that family knew it. You know, they were kind and compassionate enough to even ask, you know, and follow up with Riley. And Riley followed them and still communicated with them a little bit, you know, nothing more to what had happened that evening. But it was really refreshing for the families to get together and, you know, just emphasize, we've been saying this the whole time, there's a lot of people that was in Nashville that weekend that was only there, you know, for 12 hours, 24 hours, 36 hours. This couple was 3 or 4 states away. So we could possibly find the right couple that had the rest of the...
Yeah, so if you're just tuning in, I do apologize. There was a lot of activity, and we'll go check back in with Mind of Monsters, but I got a bunch of messages saying that they may have found him because there was a bunch of EMS fire trucks, and it was literally right where he was last seen. And the family, the one thing that really kind of stuck with me is that I heard that the family was there as well. So that's why I decided to go live, even though I, you know, kind of cautious. But it sounds like it was not Riley Strain, and it appears what we're hearing is a homeless person. That has not been confirmed, and we'll check in here. I'm just going to play the rest of this. We'll check in with Mind of Monsters, and then I'll play one other video where Chris, the one in red, he's actually there under the bridge, and he talks about this security footage, and he actually kind of points to where gives a little bit more details on this new surveillance footage, because if you haven't heard, there's actually new surveillance footage that hasn't been released to the public, but it's after the officer's body cam.
pieces of the puzzles. We would sure love to see them.
Did this couple tell you anything else about their brief encounter with Riley?
I rescued the guy. I was a homeless guy. That's what I'm hearing.
They did mention that he was on the phone, which we've kind of, Chris had already noticed that the cell phone data, that there was an ongoing phone call.
I think he's
There was
okay.
a conversation with a male gentleman that, we thought may possibly quite have been his fraternity brothers. To the distance of what that conversation was, it was a little unclear at the time, but, there was a conversation with who we think was them. And they were probably trying to look for Riley or figure out where he was.
Did the couple say that Riley seemed to be looking for something? We know he was headed in the exact opposite direction from his hotel. Do either of you have any theories on why he was walking at a fast clip in the exact wrong direction? He was clearly turned around.
Yes, we possibly do. This will be a two-parter. You get both of us. We've had some people on the internet throw out some theories like that, and the name of the hotel, which I was not familiar with, but Chris knows it quite well. One of them said there's actually a business not far from where Riley was at that had the same name, basically. And I'm going to let you take that one.
Oh.
So, given that name, we put it in maps just to kind of see where it was at. And it is around 2nd and 3rd Street.
2nd and 3rd.
Just north of last known location by probably half mile to a mile. So there could have been some confusion if he was trying to get the address for the hotel and got this address. Could have been why he was going that way.
So there are two different. The hotel is the Tempo Hilton, and there's a business called Tempo that is in the direction that Riley was heading. So he may have Google mapped it, or to get
possibly.
And was headed to the wrong quote.
Oh
Tempo.
my gosh.
Yep.
Yes.
And that was brought to light by somebody, online, within the past 24 hours, asking if we had, thought of that, and we didn't. And then when we got to looking, it was close enough that it was definitely a possibility.
Thanks so much for watching.
Okay, let's look at that. Wow. Yeah, that's really sad. Let's just see what they're saying real quick. I'm sure. Oh.
Like, it is one. I've lived here for a large majority of my life, and it never ceases to fail to amaze me in any degree. The Cumberland River is beautiful, but also, just like any other portion of life, can be very disastrous too. I remember the floods of May 20. Was it 20? When was it? The floods happened.
2010.
2010. I wanted to say 2012. So.
I want to know what.
But all this at one point in time, if you can imagine, these bridges were flooded over. So you see how high up we probably are right now. I'd say about 400, 500 feet up from water level, probably a little bit huger than that, or larger than that, bigger, however you want to measure it up.
That's a big drop. Okay, so I'm assuming that's more or less confirmed that a homeless person or somebody injured themselves. It's not Riley Strain. I do apologize for anybody coming in. That's why I did put a question mark. I always try to be cautious. But, with the family being there at the beginning, had me kind of, curious, thinking that they could have found him, especially since they had the Cajun Navy out there, basically a lot of different resources kind of ramping up to help search. Let's look at this real quick. And then, like I said, I've got a few other things. I did a little research on the river and how fast it was going and how deep it was, because it rained. And I was just kind of doing some calculations. If he fell in the river, how far he could go. And oh my goodness, it's scary. It's pretty scary. So let me see if I can punch this in. I don't know if it's going to be 2nd Ave. And 3rd. It's going to be like 3rd Street. Let's just do 2nd Ave. 2nd Ave and 3rd Street. So there's 3rd Ave. This is where he was at. There's 3rd. So somewhere here, I'm thinking. Do we know? Does anybody know what? Let's see if I can punch that in. If it'll. So it's a building that has like the same name somewhere. There's 3rd Ave and 2nd. Anyway, that's wild. So they think he may have punched in something different. Tempo. That's New York Times Square. What's this one? No, that's not the right one. Not sure what that is, but it's somewhere around in there. So apparently it has the same name or something close to that, and he may have punched it in wrong. I'm assuming it's got to be around in here, I think. Anyway, it's called Your Tempo. Oh. Your Tempo. Oh my gosh, there it is. Oh my goodness. Wow. Last scene right here. And wow. I think it's quite possible that's what happened. Wow, whoever figured that out, that's amazing. That would make sense, because him running never really, really made sense, other than that he was going to be being chased by something or someone. But wow, that makes sense. So let me, like I said, I got a couple more things. So I guess I'm kind of glad I did go live, because I was working on some things. Let's see, where is the new one? Let's see, did I record it? Oh, I recorded it. That's what I did. There it is. Okay. Punch that in. Probably moved over to this screen. I don't know why it does that. There we go. So I'll play this video, and then I'll get to chat here. Oh my goodness. Why does Windows... Oh, Windows, you kill me doing that. You kill me. So this is him actually out there.
Just to the right one.
And that is loud.
The right parking garage vent system. Hill there, I think, footage to him.
Sorry, I was going back to where he first starts talking.
We now have another very small piece of this. The police department has not shown it, and there may be actually something that they're following up on a lead, and that's why they have not shown it to the public. But for right now, what we'd had...
Of course, K Music Taylor. Oh, yeah.
Scene was the police officer footage cam, which is just down past us just a little bit. The wild part about it is when the police showed the footage to him, there is actually two. If you can kind of look back up the hill there, I think those...
What makes sense is, if you missed what we were just talking about, is that he may have punched in on his phone. So I guess people may have missed what I said. Is instead of... So his hotel is actually... It's, if you didn't know, his hotel's name is Tempo, which is, I think, Hilton. And that is literally just right here, I think. And I don't want to punch it in because I don't want to lose the other one. But it's just right here. He should have literally, when he came out of Luke's, just went west. And it would have been like right here. But people are thinking after he got kicked out of the 2 bars, and of course he's, heavily intoxicated or also under the influence of something else, and somehow got punched in your tempo. And that is, even though he went down Church Street, more or less he's heading that way. And so to me, as far as where he's traveling, because he seems to be, he has a direction, I mean, first he's kind of lost in that one video, but after that it seems like he's, set on that destination. So to me, that would make sense. We don't know for sure, but I think that makes sense. So anyway, back to this video if you missed it. This is Chris out here explaining it, and he explains it even in more detail than the interview we saw before about new surveillance that they were shown on Sunday. It's Thursday, so they've known about this for a little bit. And there's more footage after the cop.
Those are elevator shafts for the very large parking garage that is located right here in this area. Just to the right one, the right parking garage vent system is actually CCTV. So we now know.
Thank you, Carla.
Video to where he comes underneath the bridge to actually this pole right here where we have Riley's picture hanging, looking for him. He stopped here for about 5 to 6 seconds and stopped. He never looked up the hill. He never had no intentions of crossing the road or going up those steps. So that's a piece of the puzzle that we have. For fact, he did not go back west or back into town. He did keep going forward down this way, going north. Just past about where the tent is set up today, where the ladies are handing out flyers for searching for Riley and getting general information. There's a yellow caution sign for the bridge height, which is like 14
bridge
foot
height.
3,
It's the bridge height one,
which is ironically very, very close to where the homeless person that made the story that came out that he yelled back up, "Hey, it's nothing but a drunk guy." We're almost point zero at that spot. So we have footage from Riley from here to there. Thankfully, it's still spring, and there.
I don't know what music this is. I hope I don't get copyrighted.
The leaves haven't bloomed yet. Actually, the blossom tree that's up there, it hadn't bloomed yet. It just come. We've had people say, "Wow, that's just started blossoming here just recently." So we do have footage. There's nothing that the family saw that looked any out of the ordinary from everybody else except for the scooters, the normal people walking. The time flows. Riley, actually, it's a little bit of a decline at this spot. Riley was moving along pretty good. We don't think he was running, but he was aggressively, at 6'5", you've got a long gallop. He's going to be moving pretty quickly. And literally at that point, he goes out. What that does is that narrows down. We have shrunk it to about a 50 to 75 yard window now without any video footage. So today, we've actually got 2 groups that are going to be in the water. The United Cajun Navy, they actually went out of Shelby. If you're familiar with Nashville, just north of us is a park, Shelby Park. The Cajun Navy actually went in there and worked back this area yesterday for a long, long time. They are surfacing, or they're actually searching even farther down, an additional 20 to 30 miles now than they were yesterday. They actually have the huge magnets that they go along the bottom looking for keys, watches, and maybe an iPhone. Because
Okay. So that's kind of interesting, and I'm going to get to chat here in just a second. And I changed my title. Like I said, I usually be very careful because this stuff happens a lot, where there's kind of breaking news and they found something and then it turns out not to be the person they're looking for. But like I said, I got a bunch of messages, and when I heard that the family was there, that kind of made me think there's a good possibility that they could have found Riley, but it turns out it was not him. So I do apologize. That's why I did have a question mark as where as they found the body, but I did change the title. So this is what he's saying, is they can see him. Oh, I've got this destination in. It's gonna let me do it. There we go. It's the one that has the bridge height. So it's this one, man. Okay. So they say, and that's very interesting. They say they can see him from a camera that's up here pointing down. He walks, and this is about where he last seen. And that is so interesting because that's where, one of the guys was interviewed. Sadly, one of the homeless guys. And he said that he was nearby and he had seen Riley, and he had kind of fell into the bush, and he then had spoken, and of course there was another guy there supposedly helping Riley, saying that he's okay, he just fell, he is just drunk, and that happened all right here. So that everything is like right here. Now the weird thing is that his credit cards, I don't know, it's tough to tell how many feet that is from here to here, but I don't know, 20, 30 feet maybe. So it's kind of weird that, if he fell straight forward into the river, his credit card would end up, 20, 30 feet over, unless somehow he navigated over here, or maybe he came back up and then fell over this side. But I don't know. It's such a weird mystery on how he fell in there. So like I said, I did do a video because I did do a little bit of study on the river that I've been talking about. I'm going to show you guys that. I made a pre-made video for my Patreons. And it's got some interesting details. And I also looked at the iPhones, and there was a test done with the iPhone 12, which that has the same, I forget the title, but it has the same, it can go down to 6 meters for 30 minutes. And they tested it further. They went down to 20 meters. Anyway, we'll look at that. And there's some kind of interesting results, because whatever happened to Riley, his phone shuts off. I mean, it's dead, destroyed more or less, either via water damage or, some kind of physical damage to the components that make the phone work. So it is interesting that it goes dark so quickly. Allison Cosgrove, thanks for coming in. Coming on live, Chris, just in case, and keeping us all in the loop. You're very welcome. Like I said, I do apologize. I was under the impression that there may have been something bigger going on, but like I said, I do have a couple more things that we'll show you here in just a second. Rainy Days gifted 1 Mob Crew membership. Thank you so much, Rainy Days. I hope you're doing well. Bone Mama, love that name. It's a great name. Thank you so much for becoming a member and supporting the channel. And Bone Mama with 5 gifted Mob Crew memberships. That is so awesome. Thank you so much, Bone Mama. And we got one more. Give me just 1 second. I want to make sure I get this video ready. Here it is.
We possibly have some viable.
So this is the video I made just for my Patreons. But I will show it to you guys. This has some interesting information on if the scenario is that if he went in the river, how far could his body go? And it's kind of crazy. Emo Jim, it's been a while. I hope you're doing well. Good to see you, buddy. $50 donation. Thank you so much, Emo. Hey, Chris, good to see you. It's been a while, but I watch your videos all the time. Here's some money for your drone fund. This is a very sad story. I've been keeping up with this. It truly is. And now, kind of thinking about this scenario tonight, God, that's got to be really tough for them. All this action all of a sudden starts happening. Fire trucks and EMS, police scanners going dark, which that really, between the parents showing up and the police scanners going dark, that kind of was making me lean more towards that, it could have been Riley. Luckily, it sounds like this guy that they uncovered hopefully he's doing okay. If anybody knows where I can get that information, I'll have to see if I can look at it, see what happened. But anyway, thank you so much, Emo. I am going to play this video that I made for the Patreons.
New information. We're wanting to follow up and do our due diligence and, chase down those leads. But yes, it was a very fruitful evening. We're not saying it's not the shirt. If we did, it would be a huge break in the case, or to actually physically get the shirt. That would bring a whole new dynamics into this, which maybe would make the police change it from a missing persons to an actual crime. But right now, that's be fruition today too, with more evidence that comes up by backfilling the river. That's what we're in hopes for.
Yeah, you bring up his phone. I know you have verified that when Riley's phone died, it wasn't because it ran out of battery. So I know you have a lot of questions there. Is that something nefarious? Is that when his phone submerged in water? Who knows? Christine?
Actually, I wanted to play this in full.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody.
Full screen, but I actually want to kind of pause some of this because there's some things that I wanted to explain further.
True crime mystery to the missing. If you have not heard of the Riley Strain case, I would suggest checking this video out first to get caught up with his story. Today's video, we are going to focus on the measurements and calculation of the Cumberland River, and I discovered some very interesting results with how far a body could have traveled and whether Strain's iPhone, which is believed to be an iPhone 15 or close to that generation, which all of those have a water resistance up to 6 meters for 30 minutes. But before we discuss that, let's get caught up on the latest. On March 20th, they searched near the Cheatham Dam. On top of the search at the dam, the Cajun Navy have been driving boats up and down between the point that Strain was last seen near James Robertson Bridge and searching all the way to Cheatham Dam. So far there has been...
And that dam is now from like a straight line, I think it's like 30 miles, I think it says. But I think it's well over that because it zigzags around. So it's probably like 40 miles plus
no sign of
from
Strain.
Where he was last seen to the dam.
We also recently learned that Strain's phone did not just die due to battery capacity.
Well, that is something that we have been able to find and verify. Riley did have battery power at the time his phone went dark.
So I believe this means his phone had to have been compromised enough, either through massive physical damage or water damage. So let's take a look at the conditions that the Cumberland River was in the day that Riley Strain went missing. Water velocity on March 8th when Strain was last seen was measured at 3.8 feet per second.
So yeah, I found this article which was really amazing because it told you how deep at this part this tells you how fast it normally goes, which is 3.8 feet. We heard the 209, what is it? Yeah, basically 209,000 cubic feet per second, which equates to 3.8 feet per second, which then we do the math for miles per hour.
According to the USGS data, velocity peaked at 10:30 a.m. on March 9th when it was measured at 4 feet per second, which that equates to basically 2.7 miles per hour.
So if you average 3.8 and 4 feet per second, it's basically around 2.5 miles per hour.
And if we average between the 3.8 and 4, we'd say basically 2.5 miles per hour on average that his body could have been
fast
traveling. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration defines swift currents as those with speeds up to 8 feet per second.
8 feet. So this thing can double its speed depending on, I don't know, weather and whatever. So that's pretty wild that it can go from basically 4 feet per second to 8 feet. Double the speed, more or less.
Again, which is twice as fast. So between 4 and 8 feet, if it's 8
over
feet per
5
second,
miles
that means he's
per
traveling
hour.
just over 5 miles per hour. So this means, depending on the current, since it varies, if strain fell into the river, his body could have traveled anywhere from 2.5 miles to 5 miles in just 1 hour.
1 hour. Now, I'm sure there's some variables. From what I looked at, I don't know how many studies. I'm sure there's been a lot of studies, but from what I saw, they say that a body does move at the rate of the river. Now, I don't know if that means it's when it's floating, because obviously, when he first goes in, he's going to be towards the bottom, because it's not until a few days later that the body then starts to decompose, and the gases in your body, sadly, and I apologize for the description, but when your body starts decomposing, your gases are building up in your body, and that's what causes you to now start to float.
If you do an approximate guesstimation, his body could have easily traveled all the way to the Cheatham Dam in less than 24 hours, depending on the current and other variables.
Yeah, so I just kind of did an average of 2. I think it was I think I went with 3 miles per hour, or I may have done 2.5, because since it varies from obviously 2.5 to 5 miles per hour, depending on, the weather and whatever. And either way, if he's not getting caught up on anything, he would have made it to the dam
he has now
less
been
than 24
missing
hours.
nearly 2
That is
weeks
wild.
making this video, which means his body could have traveled so far, depending on the variables of the river. On March 8th, the USGS reported that the river was approximately 24.66 feet depth at 10 p.m. It has since changed, the water level rising to 20.7 feet as of 1:30 p.m. Wednesday. So between 24 and 20 feet, and that specific...
Yes, I see some people. Yeah, I changed my title. I hope it should say something different. The title has been changed. So, like I said, I do apologize. We don't like clickbait here.
Phone, which we believe is like an iPhone
Says that the title's
15,
changed.
somewhere around that generation, that can withstand up to the depths of 6 meters. At one point, it's basically
That's
20
crazy.
point something feet at the depth.
Sorry. So this is talking about the depth, and we know that obviously, we heard that it rained over that weekend, so it was like 4 feet higher. And somebody had told me it was like 18 feet, but it's actually approximately 20 feet deep on average, unless I guess rain, which then it goes up to about 24 feet, which that is very interesting, because look at 20, you have 6.0 meters. That's very important, because iPhone says it can withstand up to 6 meters for 30 minutes.
10 feet at the depth, which is approximately 6 meters, but it says it's up to 24 feet in depth, and that puts it just over 7 meters deep, which is 1 meter further than the iPhone 15 can withstand. There was a test done with an iPhone 12, which I'm going to show here, which is actually kind of interesting.
we're taking the iPhone down to 20 meters. Now this is more than 3 times the rated depth. Plus, the water is even colder down here. So this one is really pushing the limits.
So after watching what an iPhone 12 can withstand, it definitely poses a question as to whether his phone was actually compromised by the water within minutes if the scenario of strain fell into the river with his phone. I believe eventually the phone would be compromised by the cold water and depth after a certain period of time, maybe a couple of hours or more. But according to the clues we have, Riley is walking past the officer at approximately 9:52, and something then happens to him, and at 9:55 p.m., that iPhone is compromised via damage to sensitive components that make the phone operate. But according to that test, it seems iPhones can withstand.
So they took this thing, and it's iPhone 12, but it still has the same waterproof setting as the iPhone 15. So either between the 12 and 15, they have the same. They can go at the same depth, 6 meters for 30 minutes, which is the IP68 they call it, or something like that. Anyway, so they tested this thing at Lake Tahoe and a couple other lakes. And obviously, the deeper you go, the colder it gets, because that's going to affect it as well. And they took it down to 20 meters. This is 20 meters right here. It's kind of wild. There's a boat down here. And they left the timer on it going. And it hit well over 40 minutes. Now, when they brought it back, it actually, even though the timer was still running, so it was still working for like nearly an hour at 20 meters. So that's kind of interesting. But when they did retrieve it, when they went to go charge it, it would turn on, but it would turn on with like a maintenance message on it. And then, of course, they couldn't get into it further than that. So basically what's interesting is if that iPhone 12 could withstand 20 meters for 40 minutes or more, still that kind of points that there's still a small possibility that there could be some kind of foul play, because whatever happened, his phone clearly, the components, it was compromised.
Of battery. So I know you have a lot of questions there. Is that something nefarious? Is that when his phone submerged in water? Who knows?
So it's still possible that other scenarios could have happened, such as some kind of foul play. But either way, I hope the family gets answers soon. Thank you so much for watching this short video. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Please hit that.
So anyway, I probably need to change my thumbnail. Maybe that's what people... Because, yeah, the title's changed. Anyway, I'm probably not going to go... Let's take a look at the Facebook. I'm sure they have... what's going on here. But yeah, I'm kind of curious about the dam. Like, can a body go through the dam? I've heard, certain dams the body could. It would get real mangled up. Just kind of terrible to think about. I was just seeing if that mentioned anything about the homeless person. Kind of interesting no one's mentioning that. So they're not mentioning anything about, the accident that went on. But bungee cord, I know you're pretty good. If I recall, you're pretty smart with phones. You're saying phones can't ping underwater, even if they're they have the ability, they're waterproof more or less, I guess. That's interesting. Like I said, I'm not no phone expert. It would be interesting to do some, some control test, but I don't think I want to go buy me an iPhone 15 and throw it in water just to test it. I don't know if it'd be worth it. But it would be interesting to see what happened. But if that is the case, then that would make sense that if it went dark that quickly, if it went underwater, it can't send out a signal. And yeah. Let's see here. Seriously, didn't the Apple go offline at the exact same time as this phone? So what I understand is that you would think when you go to submit to get the reports, the records for the phone, because it's both Apple products. One thing that the family said is that they found out the hard way that they have to do two separate things for each item to get the reports back. So I wonder if maybe it took longer to get the Apple and maybe they don't have it. I am not sure on that. I haven't seen anything on that. If you know in chat, let me know. The life alert went off. Here's just the basic timeline. Life alert goes down at 9:53. 9:55, the phone is dead. Is not sending out any signal. And then at 10:15, because I was always confused when the story was kind of in the earlier stages. I heard like 9:53, 9:55, and 10:15, and some of them kind of mentioned that it was like the last ping. But the 10:15 ping is actually, I believe, the father or stepfather trying to ping his phone, and it just shows the last location. So that's him pinging it at 10:15. It's not the actual phone getting the last ping. It's just him pinging the phone, and that's the last location. And he did that at 10:15, from what I understand. But yeah, his life alert, 9:53. 2 minutes later, the phone dies. I mean, it's still weird. I still lean more towards he fell in. Maybe the drop. Maybe the phone kind of got damaged from the drop as well, as along with the water. But still odd that the credit card is where it's at, unless he like moved over beyond, unless he like, because he's last seen here. Did he go behind here and then obviously with under the influence or whatever, and that terrain, he was gonna, an accident was gonna happen. But, and then on top of that, if it was nefarious, I mean, it would be pretty wild, because you have a cop here, or well, not here, actually past the bridge. You have a cop down here. Then you have another 3 vehicles, law enforcement vehicles, drive by between 9:53, and then 2 at night. So 9:53, there's one literally heading south, and then 2 at 9:54 approximately. So if there was something nefarious, either it happened, where, because it's dark back here, so it still could have happened. But man, it's wild that they would, if it was nefarious, that they did that with all that law enforcement right there. But now, kind of knowing how fast that river can go, it does make me wonder if he he's in there somewhere. So with that, it sounds like I need to go change my thumbnail. I forgot that the thumbnail kind of hints at them possibly finding the body. I do apologize again. Like I said, it heard that there was a lot of activity going on, and that the parents were there, and that the police scanners were off, and they were closing down certain sections, and it was right there where he went missing. So it really sounded like it was good chances it was Riley that may have found. But unfortunately, it was not. But I'm glad, the person that was in duress, hopefully it sounds like they're okay. I'd like to know more about the broken truck with the broken window. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, it's kind of wild. Yeah, you do have a break-in. I don't know if it was a robbery or whatever, if anything was stolen, but yeah, you have a window broken. And then you do have that guy running shortly after law enforcement leaves at 9:56. There's still some odd things going on. Yes, I took that off Twitter. Yeah, I had to switch it to members only for a couple of reasons, unfortunately. So phone will work, but the signal won't transmit through water. So it'll act like it's dead, more or less. Interesting. And then eventually, if it is water, I'm assuming then eventually through time the phone would then obviously succumb to the elements. That makes sense. As I'm certainly no phone expert, but it was interesting, yeah, because those guys did that test and put it down to 20 meters, and it survived for nearly an hour, which is pretty wild. I appreciate the AC. Yeah, I am not. I hate clickbait. And the person that was live, they're in my show, and I really like them, Mind of Monsters, and it's nice to know that they have boots on the ground, and so if they do actually find him, and maybe they're out there, then maybe we can get front row seats to it. But yeah, anyway, I'm just looking at chat. See anything else here? Yeah, Life 360 app. I'm sorry. I call it Life Alert. I think I've heard it say Life Alert. Yeah, it's the Life 360 app, I think it is. Yeah. It's the 360 app. Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, it's the Life 360. But yeah, that goes dark at 9:53. Yeah, I did put Life Alert. Of course I did. Anyway, I'm human. I make mistakes. Anyways, I'm going to head out, man. It's, like I said, it certainly sounded like it was a good possibility it was him, just with everything that, with the fact that the parents were there. So I do apologize. So anyway, I'm going to head out. I do appreciate everybody tuning in, and I got to go change my thumbnail as well. So I don't want anybody getting mad, because we don't like clickbait. But I can't imagine that's got to be really tough for the family, because I'm sure they probably were getting their hopes up seeing all this activity going on. So, but they've got a lot of support out there. They got the Cajun Navy out there searching. They got all this different tech. They're using magnets, which are really amazing, because you can Oh, I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, you can obviously, because of the phone, it's magnetic, so you can, so they can find his phone or any other stuff that's magnetic. Oh, I just wanted to check, see if there's anything else. Oh, Jim, did you do another super chat, buddy? No, oh, you did. I'm sorry. You did. I think this was foul play. He met someone in another bar that he got a phone number from. I believe who he met is behind what happened to him. Could be. If he did, they would have that information. Because they got his phone records, which obviously we don't know what's on that. So if that was the case, then I'm sure they would get a lead. So I don't know if that will be the case, because I think they would have probably said something by now, because I think they have that information. That, because, well, yeah, they clearly have the text messages, because they've obviously released him talking to, I don't know if his girlfriend or a lady friend, 10 minutes before he went missing. So I think if that was the case, it would have said something. But still, the foul play, it's still possible. Daniela, thank you so much for the Canadian $2. I do appreciate everybody coming in. And again, I do apologize for the title and the thumbnail. Was really thinking it was a good possibility that they had found him, but unfortunately it was not. So anyway, I will be back live tomorrow on my usual time that I go live. And a huge shout out to Mighty Monsters, even though it wasn't Riley. That's still cool that they have somebody boots on the ground. And we'll keep an eye on the case, and we'll be back here 7 p.m. Eastern time, whatever the latest news is going on. So be safe. Hope you guys have the rest of a good Thursday, and we will see you guys tomorrow. And huge shout out to my mods and Michaela. I'm going to be emailing you tonight so I can get you that coffee mug. Nico Cara? I'm sorry, I hope I didn't mispronounce that. Cara, thank you so much for the $4.99 super sticker. You are so sweet. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.